Hello, hello, and welcome to the Engaged at Any Age show. I'm your host, Jaki Sabourin, and this is your go-to spot for dating, relationship, and feminine empowerment strategies. Whether you're looking to attract or keep the love of your life, we've got you covered. So thanks for being here, and let's dive right into the world of modern love. And today we have a special guest. I know you're all clamoring to be here today. I want to introduce you to the one and only Dr. John Gray. John, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure. When do I get to talk to so many ladies at one time? It's delight.
So excited. Well, I have a lot of ladies on live here that are really excited about hearing from you. I certainly am. It's been a minute since we connected and did an interview. Let me tell the audience a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into the conversation. So John's the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. He's been speaking, teaching, and coaching about love and relationships all over the world for 40 years. John's written over 40 books and that have been translated in over 45 languages. His many books, blogs, and free online workshops at marsvenus.com can provide practical insights to improve relationships at all stages of life and love. So, John, again, thank you for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm having a good day. Actually, every day tends to be a good day.
That's exactly how I feel. I wake up and I'm like, yay, it's another good day. I'm awake.
It's great to have a way to help people, to support people, in whatever situation, and love your work. So I've gotten to that place in my life where I can love my work. So I have both those aspects, work and love.
I'm really happy to hear that because you have helped so many people, myself including. And so I think that should make you feel so fulfilled, so I can see why you love what you do so much. It's very fulfilling when you can see people come into their happier, right?
Yeah.
So what I thought would be really helpful, one thing I've noticed time and time again in my community of single middle-aged women for the most part, is that they learn a lot of wonderful things from you, from me, but the one thing that I think really holds them back is failing to understand, I guess I'd call it step one, how to create that connection initially. So if a woman is online for like 10 years and she says there's no good men, I think let's go back to the basics. What happens is women get online or they meet men in real life and they might start pursuing. They don't really know what their needs are, how to separate that from a man's needs. They might come on too strong. They might be too nice, etc. So let's start with just like the step one in creating that connection and what that looks like and what not to do with men to create, second date solution.
Wonderful. For me to address right away what to do, what not to do, it could sound like I'm a sexist if I'm talking about how men and women respond differently to situations. So I want to just do a little quick primer on just the simplest way to understand men and women are different. If you don't understand how men and women really are different, then when the differences show up, we think something's wrong with the partner. Or if we don't interact at the first step, if we don't interact in a way that motivates men to be interested in you, then what happens is you lose out on an opportunity. So women know by their own experience, if a man is interested in you and he pursues you and he wants to get to know you and he asks questions and he wants to do things for you, you'll be swept off your feet with most men. Even if you end up not being together, it just feels so good to have somebody pursuing you in that way. So you assume that if you were to pursue a man in that way, that he's going to be so excited to connect with you and so forth. He won't. So just settle that in. Is that what happens with men is that, yes, if you were to pursue a man and appreciate a man and do things for him, be flexible with him, yield to him, be a people pleaser with him, it's not like he doesn't like it, but he doesn't bond with you. It doesn't motivate him to pursue you. See, because we're not like women. We're more like an emergency man. When you're a fireman, the bell rings, you climb down the pole and you go into action. Otherwise, all day long, these guys are just sitting around doing nothing. Okay, they're not that active. And they have challenges in their relationships as well, because being emergency men, the problem has to be big to motivate them. So that's a very important idea, because you as women don't need to be motivated. You have a natural instinct to motivate because you're designed from one perspective, you're designed to make babies. And babies don't have the ability, one, to communicate to you what they need. And they also, when they start communicating, they still don't know the right words to communicate for you. So you just go right into action. Men, on the other hand, don't go into action unless primarily they feel needed. Now, men do have a female side. We're going to talk about male side, female side, that does need love. There's no question about it. We need love. Women need love. But men need to feel successful in making a difference more than they need love. I'll just let that
How
in.
do we motivate so then how do we motivate men to be successful with us without having fire?
Yeah, it's such a great question. Thank you. So when a woman feels, just as your general feeling in life, that I don't really need a man, I can do it myself, that is going to unmotivate a man. So I love empowered women. Okay, women are going to making the world a better place, without a doubt. Women and men together in harmony. So we talk about power. One form of power is the ability to make a difference, to affect a change. You set a goal, you can make it happen. That's one kind of power. I want to call that masculine power for a moment. Right. And then there's something called feminine power. Well, what is feminine power in this context that we're talking? Feminine power is the ability to get others to do things for you. Okay, just take
Love
that.
it. To get others to do things for you. Ladies, write that down.
So with my wife, my power in the relationship, I know just what to say. I know what to do. I have an understanding of where she's coming from. So she can be distressed or upset, or maybe even an argument might be starting to happen, and I can quell it right away. See, one of the things you could start on a date, for example, just what I would do with my wife is she starts, reason what she say, why did you do that? She might say. I would say, well, help me understand how you feel. Tell me more. And she'd talk, and I say, I hear you. I hear you. I'm not going to explain to you all the reasons why I'm late. I'm not going to explain to you that I can't do everything perfectly every time. That's called a defense response. So that's what men typically do. But
so you're just making sure that she feels that you hear her and understand whatever it is she's feeling challenged about. That's the most important thing.
That's the most important thing. So let's translate that back. In dating, a woman presumes that listening to a man and really understanding him is going to make him like you more. No, it doesn't. He'll like himself more, not you. So
that is so true. He will, because you'll be, why will he be liking himself more? Because you make him feel good. But it doesn't mean he's connecting. He's not bonding with you.
He's talking about himself. He's talking about himself. And so that makes you feel good, but he's not penetrating into you. Now, this is the whole dynamic of masculine and feminine. Femininity is the opening and the receptiveness. It only opens when you feel safe. That's why traditionally men's primary job is to protect and to provide. We protect and provide. Now, that's old-fashioned in terms of protecting and providing. Now you have police and governments, and you have your own jobs, you make your own money and all that. So what do you need a man for? So when we get above what we'll call survival level, what you need a man for is a new kind of emotional support that my mother didn't require. My mother just required that my dad had a good job and he was a gentleman. He wasn't like angry and those kind of things. But he could have been angry if his wife wasn't happy. Because the number one thing for men, the thing that men feel most attracted to women for, is that women have a need, and I can provide that need and make you happier. So if you're dating a man, you want to create the context where he's doing something for you. So let's take a practical example. You meet him and he says, well, what do you want to do? And then you say, well, what do you want to do? And then you listen really good. And then you say, oh, let's do that. And now he's not going to bond with you. Okay, because you did what he wanted. Men thrive when they overcome themselves to a certain degree and do something for you. Now, I'll just put this in a simple context. When my wife of 33 years, she died 5 years ago, and I was massively depressed and learning how to deal with this whole change in my life. I love her so much and miss her so much if I think about her. So during that time, something that was very
Wonderful.
helpful to me was having this wonderful little dog. Okay, I got a dog. Uh, it's a doodle, a poodle and a golden retriever, just adorable little girl. And every day when I did not want to get up and go out into the world because I was depressed and felt like I wanted to die at times, I had to take care of that little dog because she peed. You have to like train the dog, and I had to feed her. And it was wonderful to bring back the part of me, the selfless part of me. Because see,
Mm.
men, when they're lazy, they're just thinking about themselves, they weaken, as opposed to feeling the masculine part of them, which is needed. So, I get up in the morning to do my work because I said I was going to do that. Otherwise, I'm really good at sleeping in. This is what makes me masculine. Now, a woman,
Holding men accountable would fall into that.
say it again.
Holding men accountable, holding men accountable if they're
Well, that has a connotation that may not be the right thing.
okay.
It's me holding
Right.
myself accountable. So
Okay.
now we're beyond connection at this point, right? I'm going to stay with connection because you asked me to for a few minutes, but that was a good point you made, which is when a
Okay.
man is accountable. But how do you get a man to be accountable?
Right.
If a man senses that you're wanting to change him, you have a complaint about him, or you have a you should do this, giving advice to him. Anytime you push to change a man, he will push back and he will lose interest. It's my role as a man to be accountable, okay, to what I do. A woman's role is, if I can be in terms of nothing's rigid here, but we're getting clear directions,
Right.
is to ask him to do something for you. See, let him know what you like and ask him. And if he doesn't do it, then he's forgotten. Then you say, oh, I guess it's not really a big deal, but next time this is what I would like. So let me step back to even that first date. The first date, he says, where do you want to go? And you basically are ready with three things. You always have to be ready with three things. That's your job, to know what you like, what you want, and to let his job is to pick. So you basically say, well, here's three things I like to do, and why don't you pick? That's it. Now what happens, now he is accountable. That's where you're completely right, is he will go, I'm providing this for her, as opposed to just get a feel for what I'm saying. If I took my wife to the movies, for example, or a date to the movies, and then we were talking to other people, and other people would say, well, who picked that movie? And I kind of said, well, she picked it. My energy goes down. But if she says, oh, John picked it, but of course you gave him options, but he gets the credit of picking it. Do you see the difference in energy there?
Yep.
It's
Yes.
like at my wife's 50th birthday, my wife who's passed, Bonnie, I made sure the weekend that I was going to look for the best resort to go to bring our kids and our grandkids to. We have 3 daughters and 5 grandchildren. So we're going to all go to this place together. I made sure that she saw me on the computer for the whole weekend, finding this place. And then after, I made T-shirts, 50th anniversary, and a picture of her and the family, all this nice stuff. So there we are. I had a great time. Afterwards, she has a little album of it. And we have friends that come over. She shows the album. And because look what John provided for me. And so many times people say, how'd you find that place? And Bonnie says, oh, John spent the whole weekend doing it. I get credit for it. But before that, I asked her, if you could have the ideal 50th birthday, tell me 3 things that you would like. So then she's able to say this, this, or this. Then I get credit for picking. I hope you can get a sense of that. Yes?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. So I think it's even just like going back to what you said on the first date meeting, what would you like to do? Well, I would really enjoy going out to dinner.
I like going to dinner, picnics
Okay.
on the mountain. I've done that. And also, I'm a surfer girl. I like to go whatever it might be, things I like to do. And then you pick. And so he's gonna see, there's this aspect of making a decision. Anytime you make a decision, it is an adrenaline response. And under adrenaline actually causes men to feel more confident. Adrenaline causes women to feel more emotional. Now, this is proven. This is a biological reality. Is under adrenaline, that's the minor stress hormone. Women have 8 times more blood flow to the emotional part of the brain. That's why it's always good to let the man decide, because he actually likes having the adrenaline. That's why men typically want to drive faster. Women sometimes do too. But for a man, that adrenaline actually disconnects him from fear and gives him confidence. So basically, and he gets to pick, because whoever picks Now you're responsible, you're accountable, as you said, for what happens. And
After.
but if it's one of the things I know that you like to do, I'm going to feel this, she's so easy. I don't have to worry. Is she going to like this? Is she not going to like this? But I'm taking charge of it. So
Right.
he's taking the risk. And it also frees her from taking the risk. Because, you know, women are always a little kind of afraid that he might not like it. He
That's
won't want
right.
to do
To
it.
suggest things that they want to do because they're afraid that he'll reject them.
That,
So I know I felt that. And while you were talking, I thought, okay, so I'm going to give you 3 things that I like to do: go surfing, go to dinner, and have a picnic on a mountain. Now, the first thing my brain said when I was saying that is, wonder which one you, a man, would consider or which one would a man be more up to bond with me? Which encounter or excursion? Would it be over at dinner? I mean, that's what women are thinking. I'm thinking, okay, which one would be the best way? If he picks that one, is it any indication of his feelings for me? Would it be dinner because we can talk, or would it be something athletic?
all of that is overthinking. That's what
Okay,
we do, is
there it
overthinking.
is. So we are overthinking it.
The simplicity is that he picks. No matter what he picks, it doesn't matter what it is. He picks and he provides it and you enjoy it. That's the whole key, is that you enjoy it. If you're thinking, okay, what's he going to enjoy most? You're thinking in the wrong direction. You're really
Thank you.
thinking, what would
Okay.
make me? And you know, you have to be bold in that, but you have to be realistic. And that's where you were going as well, is well, you have to, is he going to be able to afford one of these things I suggest? Right. So, you know, if you said, I'd like to go on a plane ride to San Francisco and be Pretty Woman, it's not going to happen with your average guy. So it needs to be in the realm of possibilities where you assess this man could pretty easily provide. But
and things that I would imagine that I would genuinely enjoy doing and that we could do again.
Yes,
I think the most common thing is just going out to a nice meal.
Yes, yes. But what restaurant do you like? So if you, here's
the best one.
When a guy says, you know, let's go to dinner, let's say you said going to dinner is one of them, then he'll say, well, where do you want to go to dinner? Well, here are my 3 favorite restaurants you can pick. So you should know what your 3 favorite restaurants are so he can pick from them. Now that's on a date. You should be ready. When you're married, you're not always thinking where you want to eat. This is where I tell men, if your wife says, hey, let's go out to dinner tonight, he says, okay, where do you want to go? Generally speaking, in that situation, she doesn't have a clue. She needs to talk about it a bit. So what I explain to men is I say, you can offer something, but know she's going to find something wrong with it. And then offer something else, she's going to find something wrong with it. My wife always did. I'd say, oh, let's go to Mexican. Oh, we went there last time. And then I might say, well, let's do Italian. You know, they changed the cook at Italian. Don't you remember that? That was a terrible meal we had. And then basically I said, well, we can always do sushi. Oh yeah, sushi. We haven't been there in a while. That sounds really good. And it could be 2 strikes or 3 strikes before she settles on the right one. And part of why that is, now this is understanding how men and women are different. Sometimes women need to talk for a while before they know what they want.
I hope my husband's watching this right now.
I know it's such good.
Honey, I have to talk first.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, again, in the art of sales, if I was a car salesman, I would say, oh, this would be a beautiful car for you. What do you think? And she goes, no, that's too old. That's too old fashioned for me. I think something else. She goes, okay, without any resistance, because you're already anticipating the first 3 things you suggest. She needs to talk about why she doesn't want it. She's already feeling pressured. This guy wants me to buy something. So what releases pressure in women is talking about things. And then when the pressure is gone, it's easy to know what you want. And then almost anything is okay. You know, you're back to the moment is fine. But this tension that builds up in women, talking can free you from that. And that's, you might say, why? People say, well, why? I don't know the why of everything. I just knew that that was the case as a counselor and get women to talk and they would feel better. And then finally, I did the research on it. It turns out that for women to feel good, their estrogen levels have to go up in the presence of a situation. Like if you went to a doctor, for example, and you trust your doctor, then your estrogen levels go up and your body stress kind of goes away. That's why placebos have been so powerful. It's just simply anticipating I can get what I need. Your body relaxes. Now, a man's body does too, but women need that more. Why do I say that? Because in order to feel happy, women need to make, in comparison to a man, 10 times more estrogen. Now, this we're looking at young. Now, if you're menopausal, you don't need to make as much. Body says, okay, I can't make a baby. I don't need to make as much. But you do need to have a certain balance. The balance is what makes you attractive to a man. Estrogen is the part of your awareness, the awareness that says, oh, I can get something from this person that I need. So if I come home, my wife's happy to see me. She's, oh, John, we need you for this. Big burst of testosterone. Now, this word need is a tricky word. You don't always have to use it because there's an experience men have of women being needy.
Right. Before we go into that, can you tie it into, because we're now dating and we now understand we have three things and we know what our three things are. So how do we create that bond on one of those events, whatever excursion, and then
now you're on the excursion. You need to know he has now picked, he's in charge of that. And during this whole journey, no expression of dissatisfaction. Okay,
right.
this is okay. So now you're sitting there with two girls, two women having dinner, and the restaurant is overpriced. The soup was not warm enough, you know. So what two women would do is sort of just complain about it. Oh my God, I don't know if I'd come back here again. And sometimes you could even be on a date with the man and say, well, this place is wasting your money, thinking you're being frugal for him. But actually, anything that occurs on that date, he's going to feel like he provided it. So if you suddenly start talking about how bad the soup is, you're like insulting the chef. Okay. It's kind of like, well, that's my soup. I cooked that soup. And, you know, if you were right there with the chef and he was a friend, you probably wouldn't go into great detail how bad the chef was. Okay. So the food. So if I take my wife to the movie, say we go to a movie and she likes the movie, and after the movie, she doesn't have to say, thanks for bringing me to this movie. What she says is, wow, that was a great movie. I'm so glad we came to this movie. Then when this happened in the movie, that was so funny, or that was so exciting. I loved that. Okay, so see what that is? You're not necessarily praising him. You're praising what he provided for you. That's always the dynamic of men. That boosts their attraction to you. When I do something for you, I wrote that movie for you. I directed that movie for you, and you appreciated it. The flip side of this is I remember once leaving the movie theater with my wife, and it was a Joy Luck Club movie. And evidently it was menopausal women, the mothers, and it was kind of critical of them, I think. And there was this man and his wife, or I think it's a woman he was dating. Okay, that's right. They were older people, younger than me, but in those days, they were older people. And she was standing there, and I just heard a little bit of the conversation. Because I watched this man, he was slumping over like he was about to die, you know, what he was listening to. And I thought, what was she saying? She says, you know, what he had said is, so what would you like to do now? And she says, I want to stand here and tell every single person not to see this movie. And I watched him wilt. She had no idea that she was having that effect on him. Men will take it personally.
Yes.
They provide something for you. So in the beginning, you show your affection and your warmth. And yes, you want to be loving and nice, people pleasing to some extent, but not pleasing him, being pleased with what he provided. And on those special, yes, the whole thing, you even said environment, the moon, so beautiful. Yes, I made the full moon tonight, honey. Just make it a positive experience. And yes, maybe the soup was too cold. Am I saying you can never talk about that? There's times and places to talk about that, but not on a date where you're wanting him to experience that he can make a difference with you. And that this is what men want, is to feel that she's not high maintenance. That's another thing, which is, you know, that I will, and you have to realize at this age, beyond menopause, these men have been through it. And if they're single, you already know what happened. And I'll tell you what happened is, if they're divorced and single, it's which would be probably the only reason they're single, is they come to me and they almost all say the same thing. John, no matter what I do, it's never enough to make her happy. And all of you who've been married before, you probably know that your husband was probably saying that to you. Why can't you just be happy? Why am I not enough?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I can't do anything to make you happy.
Can't do anything to make you happy. So when you can be easy to be happy. Now, what is easy to be happy? It means to already be happy in your life, and you look to the man to become happier.
I really like that. I've heard you say it before, and I really like that. So what you're implying is we need to do the work to make ourselves happy, whole, complete, and then become happier with the man. Because that's the attraction, is a woman that's happy.
Without a doubt, but a woman who's happy, but also will be happier in the arms of a man.
Be happier. That's the caveat, right?
That's the caveat right there. Happier.
So how do we show that he's making us happier? How do we make that jump from I'm happy, but how do I let you know that I'm happier with you? Compliments, appreciation.
All right,
Of
here's some phrases you can say to a man that lets him know that he makes a difference. It's not even so much that you're happy. That's just that's the foundation where he can make you happier. That's what he needs. Is the message is that he has a role in your life. I remember one time, there was this conversation going around maybe 10 years ago where the very successful woman would say, I have a hard time finding a man because I think I intimidate them. And actually, some men are intimidated by successful women when they really, we'll call it more on their female side. They don't have a lot of confidence. But a man with a lot of confidence, he clearly is not interested in a woman who doesn't need a man. It's like, why would I want to do this job when I'm not even going to get paid? Okay, getting paid means to have somebody go, wow, I'm so glad I met you. And I'm so glad that I'm with you. And this is really a lovely evening. And I had such a good time. Not that you have to say all of that, but I'm expressing the attitude of that, which is he feels successful in providing for you. The idea of women have to be happy, they don't have to be happy all the time. And you can't be happy all the time because you're women. Okay, so, and nor can men. It's just men can have no feeling all the time. Women have estrogen. And even after menopause, you still have estrogen, you have testosterone. Those are your two major hormones to balance. Now let's go before menopause, just to understand the dynamics of that and why they're so important, just for a brief second. Before cycling, a man compared to a woman biologically is very different. He has 10 to 20 times more testosterone than a woman. Women have a lot of testosterone, and at menopause, generally speaking, if you're not stressed, you'll have plenty of testosterone. If you're stressed, your adrenal gland's not working well, you won't have any hormones. That's it. We'll get to that subject. But we have over here, men need 10 times more testosterone than a woman. Therefore, we need 10 times more opportunities to get our testosterone boosted. It's not like I just wake up and I have all this testosterone. It's that yesterday I had a job and it's unfinished. And today I wake up and there's a compelling future for me. I have something I have to do. And my testosterone rises for that. When men retire, their testosterone levels just start descending down. They just go down. This is biological. We see it to be the case. Now, because I have a successful marriage and I know how to be the man and help support her in finding the feminine inside of her, I'm at 72. I have a stronger libido than I've ever had in my life, except it only focuses on my wife. Nobody else turns me on at all. I have sex quite often. Like my friends are not even interested anymore. It's one of my favorite retirement activities, even though I'm only partially retired.
I'm so glad you're sharing this. Honestly, I think it's an important thing, and you being so transparent with something that could be, judged as vulnerable, but I think it's so important because that connection, that sexual connection is something that I don't want to end in my marriage. And my husband just turned 70. I'm getting ready to be 60. So I think there's a lot. I mean, you must be just having so much fun, right? I mean,
So much fun. I mean, look, I've made it in life. I don't worry about money. I got time. I get to visit my grandkids. And then I have all this extra time, which is why I said I might write a book or I might not. I'm enjoying my personal life so much. And even before my wife passed, we were already doing this as well because we had way more time. And I stopped writing books at that point. So
well, let me just let's button up and go back to just what you were saying about being needed and needy. So now we want to create this connection. We understand what the men need a little bit more from what
can you hold that thought? Because you had another question before that. So you're on this date, you want to be happy.
Right.
Being happy, you don't have to go, oh, I'm so happy. Oh, I'm so happy. It's like, oh, this is so nice. It's just enjoying the date. Now, there's two ways one, to communicate you're enjoying the date is you're talking, right? When you're talking, and if he's talking, you pause after he's kind of made a point or said something. You have 4 phrases you go to. There could be more, but I'm just giving you here's powerful words. Words are magic. And the beginning was the word. Words are powerful statements. So one phrase is simply, that makes sense.
I like it.
That is I watch a lot of male teachers and they often will talk to the audience. Say, does that make sense to you? Does that make sense to you? They're trying to connect. That's how men connect. When you say that makes sense. Logic is masculine. Emotion is feminine. Don't ever ask him, how do you feel? Never ask him, how do you feel? Never ask him, how do you feel? Never ask him, how do you feel? I just want to remind you of that. If you are going to want to penetrate him a little, which is you're now being a bit masculine, but that's okay. But you say, what do you think? So what do you think about this? You want a man to talk. Do not say, how do you feel about that? Say, what do you think about that? Something to help you remember that. I was doing an Oprah show with Oprah when she was trying to be a therapist. And there was this couple and she was unhappy. They'd gotten married and she was complaining how her husband had not changed. Okay, he should be this, 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 this. So then Oprah says to him, well, how do you feel about that? And literally it looked like the guy was doing number two in the bathroom and just couldn't get it out. He was on. And I said, now, Oprah, try another question. What do you think? So he said, what do you think? I think it's unfair. What suddenly I'm supposed to change just because we get married? I mean, I should have known the rules of that before I suddenly agreed to make all these changes. And so immediately he was very talkative because it was, what do you think? But at the same time, so this is, what do you think about this conversation opener on that one? Another one is when he talks, you say, that makes sense. No matter what, no matter if you disagree with it a million tons, you have to realize this is a logical being from the data he has. That makes sense. You have to realize we all have different data sources. What TV shows do you watch? What news do you watch? Everybody's got different data based for a man, any man, from his perspective, based upon the information he believes. That makes sense. So always you could say it 5 times on a date. Well, that makes sense. And now the next one is, wow, what a good idea. I hadn't thought of that. What a good idea. I hadn't thought of that.
What a good idea. I hadn't thought of that. So all of these are great phrases that we can show up.
Write them down. You say them over and over and over. This is pumping his testosterone up in your presence. You're right. That's another. You're right. It's like when I'm describing something, someone says, you're right. When a woman.
That's my husband's favorite.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Every man is hungry for that, particularly single guys who their wives never said they were right. So that makes sense. Good idea. You're right about that. And then when he says something that you can't just resonate with in a positive, affirming way, you just simply say, that's so interesting. That's it. That's so interesting. We say that to each other all the time. To man, it's like saving face. It's like, I don't agree with you at all, but I'll think about that. Or haven't thought about that. So these are words that sort of carry the conversation. Now, I have to underline, we're still talking about those crucial beginning dates.
Yeah.
Still true later on. This one is, he should talk much less than her.
Because men always complain that men talk way too much and do all the talking. How do we address that? Because it's common.
Because women ask questions. Men don't talk until you ask questions. So if you ask a question and a guy starts talking, don't ask another question. You should follow it with, that makes sense. That's a good idea. I haven't thought about that before. And then launch into 3 times more talking on your side. At least 3 times more. It can be even more. You fill the gap, and don't be a people pleaser. It's good to disagree in an agreeable tone of voice. Well, I hadn't thought of that. What I was thinking is, or what I've done in my life is, and completely disagree with him in a way that doesn't say,
you're wrong.
We have to think the same, because he doesn't have this training yet. So, but he's going to do, but why would you think that? Oh, it's just another perspective. Or he says something, might even be a little offensive to you. Boy, he says that and you feel a little offended. Don't say, I feel offended. That's where you just say, wow, that's so interesting. I have a completely different perspective on it. And then just give your perspective and move on. You're not there to correct him. You're there not even to know who he is. That's another one. You're there to have him know who you are. Let you know treat you with respect. That's how you measure a man, not by what kind of man is he? What does he do? What does he do for, some of that, of course, you're getting to know somebody, but more you measure the rightness of the man for you is how he respects you. And when you put yourself in a situation to be respected, he will feel more caring and attachment to you. Think of it like when my wife asks me to do something and I do it, I now go, I'm a good guy because I did it. It's meant always, and she appreciated it, is whatever happens, have a neutral or a positive reaction to what he does for you. You don't have to fake a reaction. It should be a real reaction. But often women like things, but they don't say they like it so much. Often women don't like things and they say that rather than just having a neutral response and get your your need to complain about men, if it comes up, never to the man, but even if it's the wrong man and you want to tell him how wrong he is and whatever, and I'm moving on, don't do that. Just go talk to another woman. Talk to another woman. Share your feelings with them. So in your life, all you have is men who give you positive responses. Because anytime you complain to a man or criticize or tell him he should be different or be upset with him, he will become defensive. And you want to, particularly when you're single, you want to create a different perception of men, because you've all been in relationships. You all know what it is to be in an argument with a man. And what you have to know is that arguments fuel, negative arguments, saying mean things that pop out, or strong emotions.
Right.
It's always two people. You have to realize that if a man is, particularly a man who's having sex with you, if you're emotionally upset, he now has his estrogen going up too, and he loses control and says mean things or gets angry or whatever. And
Right.
what happens is, I've done this 50 years, basically 40 years for couples, but I've been with people. When men start to get upset, women become afraid. And now they want reassurance that, they think if we just talk this out, everything will be fine. Because if my wife is upset, all I have to do, now I'm an initiated man. Men don't know how to do this till they take my classes. But I basically never get upset with her. I just say, okay, help me understand that better. Tell me more. What else? What's going on? Now here's my point of view. And I'll give my point of view only when I have no reactivity. I'm very, very objective. I can't always do that. And if I can't always do that, then what I say is, well, I need to think about what you said, and we'll talk about it at lunch tomorrow. Done. I never raise my voice to her. But what happens men don't know this. They used to. That used to be masculinity. You never get angry at a woman. You never hurt a woman. You never get mad. You're a wimp if you do. Now all these guys are expressing their feelings, and because the therapists are telling them to. And when he starts to get angry, women today ask questions. Just like on the date. Don't ask him so many questions. Sometimes just a little bit to get things going. So a little back and forth, but then you dominate the conversation. Now, how would you like to talk in a way that would, you asked me to talk about that very beginning, so I'm sticking with
I think that we covered a lot about how to create that connection, what the expectation is. You've given us several tools,
Okay, all right.
phrases, and I think that they have enough. They need to go out and practice that, and not to continue moving forward until they feel like they really got the meetings and the interactions down. But we do have a lot of questions popping up. Do you feel like a couple
let me just, we're going to move on to something else, but let me just say, I've written a book. I don't need to sell books now, but I'm just telling you, there's a book called Mars and Venus Starting Over. And there are 30, I think it's 32 or 23 reasons women don't start over. So that's a whole topic, hours and hours to look at all the reasons that women will say, I'm not going to start over. So it's very important. The sooner you can start this, the better. Just put yourself in there. And the cushion to start it is, don't date men that you want to fall in love with. Okay. If you go on a date where you're thinking, oh, I want to find the right person for me to live the rest of my life, right? Then it's suddenly you're like, I want to buy a house, the perfect house for me. If you come visit my house, you'll think it's beautiful. But if you think, oh, is this the house for me? Then you'll start finding negative things about it. And then if you decide you want to buy this house, you'll even hire somebody to look at everything that's wrong with the house before you commit to the house. This is the way our brain works. So you have to stop looking for the right guy. But as a woman, what I suggest to women is, the men who are more interested in you than you're interested in them are the ideal ones. If a man's interested in you and you get really excited, go somewhere else. That's not the right guy. He'll disappoint you. He has to earn your love, and he will bond with you. And there's a lot of new skills that we're learning here that you have to practice, like asking for what you want and not complaining, all these kind of things. But a complaint is, you stepped on my foot. A request is, oh, you stepped on my foot. Would you try to remember not to do it? It hurts a little. No big deal. That's how you ask for what you want, not using big emotions to do that.
Right. And so this book is, can we get it on your website?
Yeah, you can. It's all at marsvenus.com, but it will direct you to Amazon, where we don't inventory the books anymore, but you can read about them, or you can go to that one. It's just Mars and Venus Starting Over. Great skills in that one. I also have one called Mars and Venus on a Date, which is what we're talking about right now.
Right. Okay. Well, ladies, you heard it. Hop over to marsvenus.com and look at what John's got there and what he's been talking about. And I take that step, get the book and do the work so that you can have the success you want. Let's jump into a couple questions before we hear about your new supplements. I really can't wait to hear about that. So first of all, a couple women on Facebook posted they wanted to know about when to move in with a man, about living together for the first time. Any suggestions how to make it work, not only later in life, like 60 and on, or there were some women that were wanting to know about if you should move in before you get married between 50 and on. So I think I don't know if you would consider that different, 60 and on, things to, how to make it work living together for the first time at 60.
Okay, let me give my perspective on this. The older we get, the sort of more rigid we are in our routines and our habits.
Yes.
And if you still are making enough estrogen, women tend to be very flexible. Often men are not. They get kind of grumpy. Their estrogen levels are rising as they get older. So when men have high estrogen, they're grumpy guys. And you want to get around the grump. So
Yes.
putting it in terms of this conversation, your greatest negotiating power to train a man is when he's living in another house. One of the greatest needs that men have is space. And when they're living together, there's less space. When men do not get enough space, they become grumpy and irritable and passive and resistant. And, maybe the way he's found peace is just yes, dear, yes, dear, yes, dear, but he doesn't have any, he's losing his sense of self. So all men are different, but clearly there's the yes, dear to avoid conflict, which I always avoid conflict, but never with just yes, dear. It's always win-win. It's how I can make sure she gets what she needs and what I need as well. And that's fun. A woman actually doesn't want everything her way. What she wants is win-win. It's a reciprocalness, which is.
So if they're already living together, can she make a little bit of a plan to give him more space as much as possible?
That's moving into it. So it's not like you can't have this power. It's just that you need to make sure there's a lot of space. During the shutdown, the lockdown, one of the major reasons why there was so much conflict, and there was for marriages, is they weren't taking time apart. They weren't taking time apart. For example, I have my office right now. It's outside my house, but I can walk to it from my house. So it's a part of my house, but it's separate. If I was doing this in the house, then Bonnie would wander up to me at any time and say, "Oh, John, by the way, I forgot to do this. Could you do this later?" And then my reaction would be, I would take it out on my hyper focus, which makes her now walk around like be afraid of Mr. Grouch, so to speak. And so she's constantly feeling that I'm not open to her, as opposed to put him in a separate place, a do not enter sign, man's cave kind of a thing. Then you feel like he's gone. So you're not feeling like you're being rejected all the time. And just as a general rule, knowing that men often don't know they need so much space. And so if ever a man is grumpy or irritable, and we go into this in great detail in Lauren's course, my daughter Lauren teaches a course called Understanding Men, which is really good. And one of the snippets from that is if your partner is being grumpy and irritable, almost always he hasn't got enough space on his own. And you trying to help him in any way will only increase the grumpiness. Are you asking things of him will increase the grumpiness. There's times to ask and times not. So
makes sense, John.
But you do want to ask. See, I have a whole class on asking. And the way you ask when you do ask is you ask, and now we're talking about relationships and living together, okay? When you ask, it should be along the lines of, when you have a chance, I need your help. Simple as that. And when you have a chance, I could use your help. What he'll do is maybe he's watching the news or he's doing something else. He's on the computer, he's distracted. So you don't ever want to go in there and say, get out of that right now. But you just say, when you have a chance, I need your help. And then he immediately will go, well, what do you need? Oh, I'll let you know. Then it will only take less than 5 minutes. Now, this is the 5-minute rule. I suggest that every day or every other day when you're living together, the 5-minute rule is you ask him to do something really simple. Now, this is going to sound weird. And something simple that you could do yourself, but it makes you feel good when he does it. Okay, so see, if you look at really what romance is men do things for women that women can do for themselves, but because he's doing it for them, they don't have to do it. See, that feeling of I have to do everything is kind of like a weight on women's shoulders, and to have a few brief moments, 5 minutes a day even, where here's something I like to do that I have to do, or I could do even, but I don't have to do because he's here. So that's the 5 minute rule.
Yeah.
So this is a game I play, which you can just, if you're living with somebody, I'm saying this is very important. You got a man in the house. If there's no interaction where he's responding to your request, the interaction, it's like sex is responding to each other. It just simply is like my wife says to me, we have a signal for it, which is it will take less than 5 minutes. So when you get a chance, I need your help. And then the hand signal is there. Hand signals are very powerful because for millions of years, men have learned when they're hunting to be quiet and use hand signals. If I'm driving in the car and I'm going too fast, it's annoying to me if my wife keeps saying, go slow down, slow down, slow down. I'm not feeling comfortable. So now we just have a hand signal. She just grabs the handle, and then I see her grab the handle, and I just put my hand on her thigh, slow down, and then I put my hand on her thigh, says, on her thigh, and I say, I did that for you. And she says, I know, and I appreciate it. See, these are simple little moments where
Little things.
little things, lots of little things.
So I want to just give the ladies what I do when I notice maybe my husband comes home from work and he needs space. I can pick it up. I'll just go to a movie like I'm at now. I'll be like, I'll be home in a couple hours. Give him the space. I get it's a win-win. When I come back, he's restored. He's had his space.
We love it. We love it. That's a great thing. And when you go to the movie, have a girlfriend that you go to the movie with as well. It's always good to have do things with women. I want to say that that's another point I want to make, which is often women are looking for something in men that's never going to be there, and you don't need it. It's what you get out of girlfriends. And I spent in my weekend course for couples, I was just doing it, maybe 5 couples completely transformed, because the primary thing that women were dissatisfied about is the guys didn't talk. Okay, you know what, you're married, you said it all, so what's there to talk about? And so, and they always want to know what's going on in him. And there's sort of this regret that he doesn't go deep. That was a big expression, I go so deep, I want to have deep conversations. Go see a therapist or go talk to a girlfriend. Don't expect that out of a man. You don't need to get everything from a man. What you need is the ability to go deep inside yourself in the presence of a man. And that's what you can train him to do. So, and that's a training of learning how to express what's inside of you and feel safe. But how do you?
So that's the difference. Can you then now tell us the difference between need and needy? Because it sounds like you want us to be vulnerable, but would not come across as needy. So maybe we can just get a little clarification before we talk about your supplements.
Okay. Well, needy is I have a need and you don't meet it. I don't trust you to meet it.
Okay.
That's I need more. It's I need more, as opposed to like when you're sharing, what you need is him just to listen and not interfere. So you say that to him, I just want to talk about what's going on inside of me. And I want to talk to you in less than 10 minutes, I'll be done. If ever you give a man
2 hands,
2 hands,
less than 10 minutes.
10 minutes, this is less than 10 minutes, I will be done. He goes, okay, I can do that. And it won't be about him. If you really want to train a man to learn how to listen, when you have deep feelings like I'm insecure, or I'm afraid of this, or I'm frustrated about this, or I feel I'm angry at this, and usually when you have those conversations, you're going to share with him about him. Try learning how to be vulnerable and share, I was frustrated today at work, or I went to see my doctor and I'm really scared about this and I'm concerned about this, or my daughter did this, I'm so disappointed, I'm not able to be there for her. I'm so frustrated with the gardener, I asked him to do this, or, I'm paying the taxes. It's such a bummer. See, that's vulnerability. You're revealing what you think might not be lovable, but you reveal the emotions of it. See, men can relate to all those emotions. We don't want to talk about what causes those emotions inside of us, because by just feeling them, we let it go. Women generally need to talk about it. So now when I'm saying that, within 10 minutes, maybe only 5 minutes on feelings like frustration, disappointment, concern, worries. Embarrassment is the best one. If you come home and say, oh my gosh, I was in a shopping mall today. This person said to me, I forgot to tell them this. I was so embarrassed. Whatever the thing is, I was so embarrassed. Men just go, oh, honey, you shouldn't have to feel embarrassed. I'm right here for you. I love you just the way you are. It just brings the man out, because you're putting one down for a moment. You're going one down. And part of asking him to do things is equalizing. Because if you're really in touch with your female side, you're feeling that I need him in my life. And that kind of puts you in a one down thing. I'm depending on him for something, not everything, but something. And men like that. See, men like to feel I'm powerful and I can give to you. And so you say to him, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. Now, this is once you're living together. You basically, and he's already said, I love you. All right. So we're moving to that stage. All right. Where a man has said, I love you. So what are you feeling in that beginning of stage? Does he like me? Does he love me? Does he care about me? Does he want to be in a serious relationship with me? See, that's all going on inside of you. And that's when people have the best sex. That's when people have the most love. If you go back, people who are married, I wish I could feel like that again, because that's what you were feeling at that time. And as a therapist, those feelings are always there. Every time you put on makeup and do your hair and put on that beautiful outfit, you're thinking, do I look beautiful? Am I going to be liked by others? Am I lovable? It's always there. Now, if you were to just go to your husband, this is called being vulnerable, but well, I'll just say it. We're just saying, does my husband love me? So you go to him, do you love me? A part of you knows he loves you, but a part of you feels like maybe he doesn't feel it as much. And it's true. Men don't always feel their love. I can love you, but I don't necessarily feel it. In the beginning, I felt it. Now I know I love you. I behave in a way that loves you, but I don't always feel it. And when a man can feel the love, it's so affirming, so reassuring to a woman, and it bonds him to her. So this is the dance. You say to your partner, once you're together, he's already said, I love you. You just say, when you say that, it feels so good. And I know you love me. I believe you love me. But sometimes when you say it, it feels even more, because I like it. Now, particularly now, if he just says, I love you all the time.
It just feels so good just listening to you talk. I just noticed how good I started to feel.
Yes,
I started to.
Now, here's the thing. To make it work, it's like two scripts. So you explain it to your partner. You have to explain this first. You have to say, I feel this, but the truth is, I know you love me. So if I was to say, do you love me? You might take it personally, like, well, of course I love you. I did this for you, and I do this for you, and I married you, or, so there's no way for women to reveal that part of them, but it's always in there is, do you love me? So we're going to do affirmation. It's a reassurance process. And so when you do that, you can have a symbol for it. You can do this. And then your partner knows we have the script. But anytime you do this, he'll learn. Only a couple of minutes. You say the script is, do you love me? He says, yes. Not of course. See, most men would say, of course. Why would you think I don't? No. What I need to hear is just simply a yes. Do you love me? Yes. How much do you love me? With all my heart. Do you still think I'm beautiful? Yes, I think you're so beautiful. Do you always love me? I always love you. Just simple, a few things in the script. You give him, the script is he says this, you say that. And what it does, it allows him to feel the love inside of him more, primarily because she asked. Because remember, everything about men is you open up with a need, boom, he's there for you. He puts it in. And I'll just say something very graphic, but very, very powerful. I've asked every man, so many men, when you put the penis inside, do you feel more love? Without a hesitation, they go, yes, I feel more love. So that's the point of why making love is so important, is it allows a man to come back and feel the love in his heart. He loves his wife. See, women, because they have 10 times more estrogen, can feel love much easier than men. But it's when she is open enough to allow him to come in, and when she's being vulnerable, physically vulnerable, right when he touches, he will feel more love. He's turned on, of course, he's erect. That allows him to feel his love more. So that you say, so after you practice it outside the bedroom, then you say, sometimes we'll do it in the bedroom, because you have to condition a man to do these things, because they all go talking in the bedroom. They don't understand how much better it could be. So basically, as soon as that happens, or anytime during making love, do you love me? Yes, I love you. How much do you love me? I love you with all my heart, like the moon and the stars. Do you think I'm beautiful? And it was so sweet, because I was working with couples just this last weekend towards the end. And this was a farmer, and all this new age stuff and talking about feelings. He was kind of like, I thought this was going to be ridiculous, but there's something to this. But finally, when I had him do this at the very end of the course, we're sharing, and I just had him do the process for everybody. He says, do you love me? She says, do you love me? He says, yes. She says, how much do you love me? All my heart. He says, do you still think I'm beautiful? I don't know how God made you. You're so gorgeous. You're the most beautiful being in the world. And everybody cried along with both of them. It was just so, so sweet. And I would just give that example, because you create the context where that can occur. You create the context where you can tell a man to slow down, give him signs, but make sure you've discussed it in advance. And for men, let
So
them
they
know
know the expectation, or at least the script and
the
why you're
scripts are
doing it.
there, and then you do them, and it's amazing.
Right.
But you wouldn't do that on the first date or anything.
No, no.
But the idea there is you're asking. It's a risk always for women to ask. But when he responds, it will be a higher surge of estrogen. And when a
Yeah.
woman's estrogen goes up in the presence of a man, his testosterone will always go up. That's another
Mm.
of these
I
symbiotic
love that.
relationships. This is how we get more excited in the bedroom, for example.
Well, this all makes such good sense, John, and I'm so grateful. But I have one more question I want to ask you, and then I want to hear about your supplement. So this is coming from our audience, our live audience right now. What do you think is proper distance in forming a relationship? My opinion is 30 to 40 minutes because it's close enough. We both can see each other. But what's your opinion on that? Is there a
Long distance relationships are so hard for people. Just want you to know that. But if you have good communication on the phone and with through internet or whatever, the iPhone picture, every day you have a good conversation. Sometimes that's really, really good in the beginning because it forces you to connect through words rather than just connect through sex. Okay, so that whole thing is really a valuable thing for women to become more open. Remember what I said, open your heart, open your heart means how things are affecting you. So don't let him be the only thing that's affecting you. Your life can be causing you stress. Share with him. And then that's the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so. But don't ever go over that when you're sharing negative feelings, ideally. Then you go always to positive feelings. So, and also when the whole thing about if he's not calling you or he's not texting you or whatever in the beginning stages, our class on understanding men talks all about that. But here's some key things for my daughter. She's a woman. She went through all this with her husband. And it was writing these texts, which are really not needy texts, because often women want to feel, where are we in our relationship? Let's say 2 weeks has passed, he hasn't contacted you. So then what do? You don't call him up and say, let's talk about the relationship. Are you upset with me? I'm upset with you. Where are we going here? That's a really hard thing for men to deal with, because the reason they're taking time away is they got really close. Their estrogen levels went up. Then that knocks their testosterone down. The testosterone, they pull away. Distancing allows testosterone to go up. You're on your own. That's a testosterone producer. And then he'll start to feel, I want to connect. I'll start to miss you. That's when he'll call you. But if you call him before them or contact before him, and particularly if you said, well, do we have a relationship or not? He doesn't have the knowledge in his body to have that confidence. He needs to pull away and then spring back. That's a big idea in all my books. But the thing you do in the meantime, so you don't pursue him, you send him an FYI note twice a week. And the FYI note is, you imagine in your mind that he called you up and said, how was your day? What's your response? So you look at really what's going on in your life and focus on some amazing thing that's going on. So I went to the bagel shop today and they had a new bagel and the coffee was like heavenly. Okay. And the sky was rainbows in the sky. What a day. That's it. Just that tells him she's not mad at me. She's not needing more from me, that she's a happy woman. And then my desire to make her happier comes up, as opposed to, why haven't you called me? Just something like I'm bad. Just a little note. Just imagine what he said. And also, let's say you're making an investment in stocks and he's a stockbroker. And, so I'm thinking about investing in Tesla. What do you think about that? This is a good time. That's also not necessary to answer, but basically you ask a question about something other than your relationship. Then what he experiences, you're not mad at him, because this is what goes on inside of men. Is when we go to our cave or when we pull away, so many times women get upset with us. And so we feel like some shame around it, some guilt around it, some fear around it. Now I'm going to be seen as less than.
Really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with us. What would we do without John Gray?
Okay, that was it. So lithium orotate, you can't buy it in stores. You can't buy it in any country other than America. In America, it's legal. Nowhere else. It's not illegal to use it anywhere else. It's just illegal to buy, because it's the ultimate competition with antidepressants. Literally, I've been promoting this for 25 years. I've thousands and thousands of people. So what I put together as a product that had lithium orotate plus its cofactors, magnesium orotate for more dopamine, magnesium orotate for more serotonin, and calcium orotate. So you bind these three orotates. Orotate is a substance in mother's milk. It binds with minerals and crosses the blood-brain barrier. That's so
Fascinating.
powerful. It's an amazing thing. And if you have a down, up mood kind of a thing, it stabilizes very quickly. If your mind sort of circles around, ruminates on something like this and this, it tends to help stop that very quickly. Like within a week, you notice a difference. You're taking a little bit. I promoted that for over 20 years. Then when this lockdown happened, I couldn't get it. So I took the time to look at other cofactors that could help it even more. And so there's a lot of other ingredients in it. If you go to marsvenus.com, you can see all that's in it. So you can understand what all these different ingredients are, particularly for menopausal women, probably the most important product that I've given to them. There are others. There's maca is always good. It's a natural herb out of Peru. But this one has got herbs from 7 different countries, all aimed at restoring adrenal health. You see, once you go through menopause, it's your adrenal glands that make your estrogen and your testosterone. And so you're not going to make enough of both if you don't help heal the adrenal gland. Another thing is just good vitamin C supplements. But this product, it has the lithium orate, the calcium, the magnesium, the boron, a bunch of other things. I don't want to have to go into all of it, but the key ones are anti-aging. One is called rhodiola rosea. It's what the Russians were using. It's from the Russian Caucasian mountains where people all live, or most people are around healthy at 100. That's their theme.
I love that. That's the goal, right? Well, John, I would.
There's more I can say, but time is limited. I'm so happy to spend
fabulous, and I'm so glad that you're making it so easy to get and putting that together. Not only have you helped us with our emotional questions and feelings how to connect with men, but also with our hormone balancing. So go to marsvenus.com, find the supplements, find the book, and don't forget about the free course that John's offering all of you. It's right there on his homepage on his website. And John, it's always a pleasure to connect with you. Thank you so much for being here today. And ladies, thank you, and our audience for being here. We'll see you again on our next episode. Bye, John.
Let me feel your love again, 'cause I've been running round in circles screaming out your name. Take me to a different place, just the two of us, and we can stay up all night, kissing under streetlights, doing what we want to.